Everyone loves to talk about their successes. I mean, why not? But what about the failures? Because truthfully, the failures are where you learn the most and you take the most lessons moving forward. Today, I spoke with Christine Hansen. She's a broker owner of C21 Hansen Realty in Florida, and she is also the 2025 first vice president for the National Association of Realtors. We talked all things NAR and some of the challenges and some of the goals that they have as a leadership team for next year. But mostly we talked to Christine about what she went through, the lessons Christine learned through the Great Recession and the bankruptcy and everything she went through her brokerage. She has taken forward to today and is now running a very successful brokerage and has changed the way that she's really doing things, learned a lot about herself. So whether you are struggling today or you're not, there are a lot of great lessons to learn from this podcast. So enjoy. So Christine, welcome and thanks for being on the RealTrending podcast.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and congratulations are in order. You were just recently elected the 2025 first vice president for the National Association of Realtors. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
So you are joining NAR's leadership at probably really an unprecedented time in the association's history. I mean, they've gone through many challenges before, but this one, there's massive change going on. So what are some of the goals of the 2025 leadership team?
The first thing that I've noticed with this team is they all have the ability to speak freely with each other. There is respect. There is transparency within the team, and there's confidentiality. And so I'm stepping into a very, very strong, very professional leadership team. And I believe their goals truly, from the get-go of what I'm seeing, is to how do they best serve the members and be able to keep NAR at the forefront of all of our advocacy efforts. And I think those two goals are really the things that everything they do, that's the standard.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now it's difficult because, people are just grasping for information. And so there's all this talk too of membership declining, but I think there's a lot of opportunity with everything that's happening right now. So talk to me a little bit about that and what your opinion is of all of the policy and practice changes.
Yeah. So, what I've been sharing, being a broker, having to go in front of my realtors that are having the same concerns as every member that's around the country, and also the leadership team that are broker owners and are doing this for their, as a living as well. What I'm saying to my realtors is this. There was a very small group of people that made a decision based on very limited information that they were given based on how the lawsuit and the court was set up for them. So we're not going to discount our value and the way that we bring experience and knowledge and safeguards to our buyers and sellers. And so the opportunities, I think, is for realtors. For years and years, we've been taught, make the transaction look super easy. Don't let your buyers and sellers see all the things that you have to do. Don't put them into that because they've got enough on their plate thinking of the move or whatnot. And this is just giving us a pause to say, you know what, we do get to share the hundreds of things that we do that we've really hidden that are our day-to-day challenges that we overcome constantly on behalf of the buyers and sellers, and really hone in our craft of how to effectively communicate that with them. So I think that's going to be an opportunity for us to really be shown as the professionals that we are in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, as far as the membership numbers are concerned, I think that overall the membership that you have will end up being very professional and, better able to execute on what their value to buyers and sellers.
Absolutely. And the membership number coincides always with the market. If the market is really healthy and really well, our membership numbers are up. If we're in a very challenging, difficult market, our numbers are down. So I think that the market is more reflective of the membership numbers than anything else.
Yeah. And so you obviously are a broker. So I wanted to talk to you about how you're training your agents on all of the changes coming. I know you're in Florida, and Florida Realtors just released their buyer representation forms and are preparing for everything as well. So what are you doing to educate them on the changes and the conversations they need to have moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tracy. The things that we've been doing constantly is from the very beginning, I've been telling my realtors there's going to be changes and we have to get comfortable with that. And we also have to remember there's opportunities. So we're looking from a company standpoint, or what are the pain points that we've been dealing with status quo, the way things have been done. What's things that have been challenging or difficult for us not to give the best service to our buyers or sellers, or not to be able to, bring the best value to the transaction. And so we're looking at those. So as we make changes, we're also making changes that are going to make things easier for us to be able to do what we need to do. So educate them constantly, get them comfortable. What I did was I broke it down. And before we got into the details of forms, it was just a mindset. What is your value that you're bringing to the buyer? What is the value that you're bringing to the seller? Think about all of the different things that working collaboratively with an outside broker from another real estate company, how did that add value? And how's that a strength that you can communicate? Because I still 100% believe, and I will always believe, that being able to co-broke with other realtors is the absolute best way to service both buyers and sellers, hands down. So we're just getting comfortable with that being new before we really do a deep dive into the changes of the forms. It's more about communication and just self-worth and value.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me, and just talking to different agents around the country, how many of them have kind of a difficult time explaining or expressing their value. And you would think that would be an easy thing to do. What have you found in your conversations with agents?
So it's funny because back when I was a strong listing agent,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're a listing agent, you have to go in, talk to a seller, explain your value, explain your fees, and talk about the commission that you're going to get, and explain the commission you're giving to the cooperating broker. From all of the stuff that's been put out in the press, it is not true. Sellers understand exactly who they're paying, how they're paying, and buyers absolutely do as well. It is on so many different things, dissected into details. So, first we have to get away from that. But being a strong listing agent, you're comfortable with going in. I used a visuals, like a presentation, and walked them through and told a story. On the other side of that, realtors that get comfortable working with buyers, from the multiple listing service, their fee was presented to them, so they didn't have to really, like, quote unquote, talk about it. And the second thing is they would work with buyers and show them properties. If the buyers didn't like any properties, they didn't buy, there was no rejection on the realtor. With the listing agent, you go in and you ask that seller, choose me, let me list your property, and they say no, that's rejection. So I think now we're into a new era where people have to understand, we have to go out there. Is there going to be rejection? Yes. But now the opportunity is, as realtors get more confident about talking about this, they then can now transition and be both strong listing agents and buyer agents.
Yeah, I think what I find that buyer consultation presentation is going to be vital. And I think as far as the person who calls you and says, I want to see this house today, I think that whole practice, once people continue, if they continue to schedule these buyer consultations and really do it like a listing presentation, you're going to see the industry change. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have been teaching that since before. One of my agents said, Christine, you've been teaching me that. I think she's been with me over 15 years. And what I said was, listen, I go, a buyer may think they know what they want, but until you sit down with them, talk to them about their timing, talk to them about the financing, talk to them and get all of the details. Like I even say, share a contract with them so they get comfortable. So then when I tell buyers, I'm like, listen, when we're out, you don't have to be concerned with, am I going to qualify? I'm scared of the contract. How is this going to go? And you can let that be aside so you're clear on really visioning what you want to do and what kind of property you want to buy. So we've been practicing that for a very, very long time. And our key phrase that we say is when a buyer was like, oh, can you just email me properties or can you just send me properties? Our tagline is, we work differently and let me share why. And so I think that's just going to be more and more brokers are going to just lean into, this is our new norm now. Let's really create that strong relationship with the buyer. And it's all positive. That's a good positive side of all of this.
Yeah. And I've known you for a very long time through Florida Realtors, and you have always been such a positive force in the industry. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, like, how do you use that to retain and even recruit great agents?
I think a lot of it is the fact that everything starts with us first. And if you as a broker or a business owner or in any field that you're in, focus on the outside, you're missing the boat because everything has to do with how you're feeling. And so with my realtors, with retention is we have wellness and we talk about being grounded and being able to reset sometimes or have that support when you need it. Because, in real estate, there is no, we don't have health insurance. We don't have, all of the benefits that a salaried employee does. So we're entrepreneurs. And so the way we feel affects our bottom line. And so I always say we need to make sure to take care of us. And selfish, and you've heard me probably say this, selfish is not a bad word because you cannot give what you don't have. So if you can give yourself grace and peace and balance, then you're going to be that better to be able to give that to others and the buyers and the sellers and the communities that we serve. And then I hope that message gets out. And when I'm recruiting realtors, it really is about people that will just thrive in my environment versus trying to recruit them away from other brokers. It's a different mindset.
Yeah. And I know you kind of do some life coaching, which is what you were talking about with wellness. Can you be a little more specific and talk about what you do? Is it a program that you actually built, or is it something that's just built into your training? Talk to me a little bit more specifically about that.
So there's two sides. The actual coaching part, I went through the Louise Hay You Can Heal Your Life workshop. And then I also went through the life coaching part of that. So I'm licensed and insured to teach those courses. So I take pieces of that and I bring that into my real estate career and into my office. So one of the things that I tell everybody is, let's talk about what are you saying in your mind? So I used to, as an agent, even when I was brand new, back when we had what's called the Winners News Network, and it was this positive, all these really great, good quality, positive things. So I tell my realtors to start your day, if you're turning on the news, how is that giving you an uplifting start to positivity? It's like, no. So I say, find a podcast, find something, even if you're in a down period of your life, start your mornings with phoning a friend who makes you laugh. Put on some comedy, listen to some music that gets your spirits lifted. So specifically, how you set your intention and start your day will be able to see how your week goes, which is your month, which really creates your life. And so the mornings are really important to set your intention and then that positive self-talk.
Yeah, I've noticed a difference for me just changing my morning routine. Instead of getting on my computer right away, I'll do like a gratitude or journaling. And then I always work out in the morning. So that was always part of my, repertoire. But I have like stopped getting on very first thing and checking my email and everything. And I've noticed a difference with it for sure.
That's awesome. And you mentioned something else that I'd love to also talk about is the gratitude. Mm-hmm. When I was going through, and you knew me back when the market was crashing, and I was going through such a challenging time, I made myself, and this is again learning from all the different courses I've taken, but I did a list of gratitude, things that I appreciated and was grateful for, 21 things. And every single day in the morning, I'd have my coffee and I would sit down and I would do 21 things. But here's the key. I held myself accountable to do it every morning. I had to do it and you couldn't repeat. So every day you had to come up with a new 21 things. So what happens is during the day, if you're holding yourself accountable to that, I'm driving and I'm like, oh, it's raining. I'm so appreciative that I have windshield wipers. Oh, I'm so glad I'm in Florida. I have air conditioning. But it gives you a total mind shift where you're now focusing on that, which changes your energy, which gives you opportunities to see things that are going to help you. So a list of gratitude in the morning, if you're going through a challenging time, do that for a couple weeks. And I think it really, really does make a huge difference.
Yeah, and you mentioned something going through the Great Recession. Can you share your story? Because I know your story, and I think that there's a lot to learn, and I think there are people going through that right now. So talk to me a little bit about what you went through and how you came out of it.
Yeah, so it's really a story of ego, failure, and victory. And the first thing was when the market was crashing, I had ownership of 5 different offices. I had a business partner. I had ownership in commercial buildings, residential, condos. And, I thought that I had diversified because I had all of my investments all spread out, but every single one of them was clearly attached to real estate. And so that was like the first little thing. So when the market crashed, I had never gone through failure. And that's where the part of the story is ego. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to be able to get through this. I'm going to be able. And so when other brokers understood and appreciated that it was over their head, they filed for bankruptcy. And they were able to get it done very quickly because everyone understood the market they were in. I held out, went through, paid what I could. Century 21, my brokerage franchise, was really great with me and just was like, try to get through everything. And so I did, and the positive side of things, realized because I wasn't listening to the news and I wasn't listening to the negative stuff, there was like, there's going to be foreclosures. So we set up a actual computer program. We hired someone to do a computer program. So when we were able to get foreclosures, we were able to manage them to get high ratings so that we were able to get more and more. And that saved my company. It really, truly did. But back to the story. So I didn't file for bankruptcy when I clearly should have. But my ego, I'm too good for this. It was horrible. Like, shame on me. So then I went through, and fast forward, it got to the time where it was just too big of a monster. And I had to accept the fact that I did have to file for bankruptcy. But now we're many years later where everything's kind of subsided. All the main bills have been, everything's been current except for these past things that lingered on. And so I had to go to a bankruptcy attorney. And at the time, the trustees were hungry because their business had closed up. So I became a target and they went after me. And the first thing they said was they're going to take every single thing that I have away from me. So of course I cry. And this was during the time when a long-term relationship, we split, and my mom was passing away. She was dying of cancer. So talk about like everything hitting you. And it just got to the point where I was just lost. Fast forward, I was holding on, trying to manage, paying these attorneys, trying to fight all the stuff that they were accusing me of, because it was everything they accused me of was absolutely incorrect. Absolutely. I was so transparent, but they just kept trying to dig that I had hidden money somewhere. I was doing something wrong. And it finally got to the point where we went to a mediator who was a judge. And the judge looked at me and he said, "Do you trust me?" And I said, "I don't know who to trust anymore." And he goes, "Well, I want you to resign and sign away every part of your company." And I sat there in this mediation courtroom and I signed away everything that I had been holding on to so tight. He took all the paperwork and he walked out of the room to meet with the trustee and the attorney. And I sat there, and that was when the victory came. Because the roof didn't cave in. I was breathing. I was still me. I still had my experiences, my talent, my respect for my franchise, my realtor friends. I had always done the right choices and decisions in regards to the ethics, not the financial back with the ego, but since then. And all of a sudden, I was empowered not to be afraid of external things anymore. The mediator judge came back in. We made a settlement. I was able to pay it off within 2 years, so I saved my main company. And during that time, my accountant found somebody that lent me money, and I was able to buy my building. And real quick, one more really fast story on that. We had been renting this building since 1977, and the landlord and I had come up with a price. And when I finally got the money to be able to buy it, the value of the building had gone up by over $300,000. I went to the landlord and I said, I've got the money now, but unfortunately unfortunately to me, but for you, the building has gone up in price and I can't afford the higher price. She looked at me and she said, Christine, you have always made the right choice and decision. And by you just coming here and being honest and telling me that, I'm honoring our agreement. And she sold me the building at the price where I immediately had about $300,000 equity just from that. So the victory was I learned that my life and everything about who I am came from inside, not externally. I had the gift of having people come and support me and trust in me and the gift. And so since then I have lived out of fear, and I've also understood not to be tied to ego. So that's kind of a big, long story and as fast as I could tell it.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable, because I think that there are a lot of brokers who went through or are even going through right now the same situation, not sure where to turn, and not wanting to let go either. So I think there's some things to learn about that and some ways to handle, it's never going to be the end of the world if you have your health and your, support in that, you will come out of it at some point.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Trust yourself, respect yourself, and be smart. I knew, like, my instincts were telling me I couldn't get over this. Like, I needed to take action, but my ego was just, and so that's where, you need a little bit of ego, to put yourself out there, but you need to keep it in check. And I think that's the lesson I learned. And since then, the recovery has just been so wonderful and so sweet. And again, I think it is because of the fact that, when you let go of that internal fear, you get to live your best life, and that helps you be the best version of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're transferring that to your agents and kind of teaching them that from what you went through. So,
yeah.
So what excites you the most about the future of real estate, of the industry in general?
I think that before we didn't have members engaged. How do we get their attention? So now we have their attention, even if it's from all of these negative things that have happened or these challenging things. Now we have their attention. So what are we going to do with it? So I think being able to step up and have really good connections and communication with members, help them understand their value, help them understand what their local, state, and national association brings to them. And then let's have that strong conversation about advocacy and how much we truly do for every home buyer and home seller. Every leader that you talk to that really understands the value will say there's no National Association of Home Buyer or Home Sellers. We're their voices. And so we're fighting for that. And I think that excites me, that we've got the people's attention. And so let's step up and let's roll up our sleeves and get to work and really effectively share with them the value, not only from the association and membership level, but from truly our advocacy level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we kind of really discussed this already with leadership lessons and aha moments, because you shared your story. But is there another kind of leadership lesson that you've learned over the years that really has stuck with you? Or is there anybody you listen to, podcasts or books that you've read that you've really drawn a lot of inspiration from?
There's so much, right? There's so much information out there. And I think for the lessons, one of the things that I learned when I was going around campaigning, they were like, oh, share some of your successes. And I said, I'd really rather share a failure, because I've learned more with my failures. And one of the failures was I was put in a position and something happened and I should have had a voice and I should have said something. And I was newer on the leadership team. We're going back to 2005 or 6. And I didn't speak up. I was like a deer in the headlights, and I had regret from that. Even now I still do. And so I think if I could tell anyone, if something doesn't feel right to you, if something seems like you're in a position and you need to say something, trust your instincts and say it. And so that would be something. And then the other thing that it's helped me to really hone in on is the fact that you can say anything to anyone with love and respect. So we don't have to yell. We don't have to be nasty. If we disagree, we can have healthy conversations. And that's what I really would love. If I could, like, the world according to Christine as we move forward, let's have great disagreements and let's have really, really robust conversation. And then let's go and have lunch together, or let's go and have some fun together. Why does it have to be, if we don't see eye to eye, we have to be in this like hate mode? And so I'd love to see that really transition and change. And then one of the books, it's an old one, but I read The Platinum Rule. And I really love that because I know you're probably familiar with that. But the golden rule is do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Mm-hmm. So kind of like, hey, I love mint chocolate chip ice cream, so I'm going to give everybody mint chocolate chip ice cream. Mm-hmm. And I think now when we really look at people that need to be seen and heard and be, in safe places to really digest what's going on or to learn who they really are, we need to be able to not give them the mint chocolate chip ice cream, but to find out what it is they want and give them that. And so the Platinum Rule has been something that I've really felt has been important during these times.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. And one of the podcasters I listen to, I don't know if you listen to podcasts much, but Mel Robbins, I highly recommend her. So if you're looking for something to listen to, she seems right up your alley.
I think that's one of the things I tell people is if we have to put thoughts in our mind, why not put thoughts that challenge us, that empower us, that get us to be creative and think things versus the negativity of things? Because, just like our algorithms, if you like a bunch of stuff, you're going to see more and more of it. Mm-hmm. That's our life. And if we hone into all of the negativity, or if we get into the victim mentality, that's what we're going to see in our life. We need to have that shift of empowering and life is delicious, and it's we deserve to live it to its fullest. And we can't take that for granted.
My final question is just like, where do you see the most opportunity in the market in the coming year?
Yeah, I am hoping that we're really going to be able to work from a legislative standpoint on offering some incentives to some of these investors that have bought up hundreds of homes, and let them go ahead and sell the homes, get a healthy profit, sell to a good market where, again, they would get a tax advantage if they sell to a first-time home buyer or a certain price point that we can open the market in. So I think there's that. I also think we need to look at zoning, and there's a lot of commercial spaces. We know that, how often do we really go to a mall anymore? So let's really repurpose some of those things and really hone in on the fact that homeownership is so important. Mm-hmm. Let's work on affordability. Let's work on allowing people who want to buy a home to do so. And there's a lot of opportunity because there's a lot of talk around that. So I'm hoping we can really get creative and have some open hearts and minds with things like that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that is a, wonderful goal and wonderful opportunity for real estate. Christine, thanks so much for being vulnerable, sharing your story, and congratulations once again on your new NAR appointment.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to spend time with you and being patient as we got started with everything today. So thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.